If you want to see me wince a little bit, just say Scrum methodology. Okay, I'm going to kind of twitch a little bit because Scrum is not a methodology. Okay, Scrum is a lightweight framework. Now, how many of us has this been our life's aspiration? Someday I wish I could maybe be on an assembly line. What we're used to being in is what's often called defined process. So defined process means somebody else tells you how to do the work. And this is what most methodologies are like. And waterfall is typically like this, where they hand you a book when you join the company and they say, here's how we do things around here. Your job is not to decide on the process, it's to do what we told you, right? This is pretty much what a lot of companies do. Here we see the ultimate example of a defined process, an assembly line, judging from all women on the line and the haircuts. I'm pretty sure this is World War II here. And so, there's something coming by at a predefined pace. Your job is to solder that same thing in or attach that same thing. And you do that all day long, right? And, you don't control the pace. You don't control how we get the work done. You just do what you're told, more or less, okay? Now, how many of us has this been our life's aspiration? Someday I wish I could maybe be on an assembly line. And there's nothing wrong with assembly lines. I don't mean to make fun of anybody that does that. That's important work. But most of us like to think, yeah, that's not us though, right? We're knowledge workers, okay? Well, let's talk though about how some of your companies might actually work when we think about this idea of, defined process. So I'll do a drawing here. So we all have customers, right? But who is it that's allowed to talk to customers? Well, that varies, of course, from place to place. But in many companies, it's the sales team that owns the interface to the customers. So they talk to the customers. They gather up some ideas from them. They throw them over the wall then to the product managers. My customers want the following things. They've already been translated a little bit now, but now it's been handed off to the business people. And now the business people come up with some business requirements, and they throw that over to the BA or the analyst. They come up with some technical requirements, and they throw that over the wall to the architects. And the architects come up with some architectures, and they throw that over the wall to designers, maybe. And of course, designers throw things over the walls to the coders. And coders throw things over the wall to QA or test, who throws things over the wall to ops or deployment, who maybe throws things over the wall to the maintenance team. Gosh, maybe you are an assembly line after all. So notice how many steps there are here. Notice how many handoffs there are here. Notice how many possibilities for delay and misunderstanding there are here. Anybody ever play the telephone game where you whisper in somebody's ear and it goes around the circle and it's sort of hilariously off by the time it gets around? Yeah, that's funny in a party. It's not very funny here, okay? But the same thing happens. So what is Scrum suggesting instead of this highly structured, highly handoff-based approach? Well, roughly, we can think of product owner as kind of fitting in here somewhere. Developers, or what we used to call the dev team, is possibly as large as all of this. Scrum Master's out here providing kind of coaching and stuff to both these. And even here, though, we don't like this indirection with the customers, so we are okay with developers talking directly to customers. And we end up with this much simplified view of the world that looks something like this. Not so many specialized roles, not so many handoffs, more about empowered teams that solve problems together. So if we're not a defined process, then what are we? Well, we're actually something kind of weird called an empirical process. So an empirical process says more or less, you guys own your processes now. We're just going to give you just enough structure to help you figure out how to kind of continuously deliver and continuously learn and continuously change. And then we're going to let you guys come up with your own processes. We're going to let you decide how to create products. We're going to let you decide how to talk to customers. And we're going to pretty much not specify any of that for you. But what we're going to insist on is that you're always transparent Meaning, like, if we have a sprint and it doesn't go very well, we don't ever hide it or anything. We're totally transparent about it. And then we just constantly inspect and adapt or change how we do our work. So Scrum teams constantly change how they do their work. They don't follow a fixed process. They own their processes and they evolve them. This is something a lot of companies struggle with even understanding at this level, right? They say, here is, like my last one, I'll just make a little bit of fun of it. They finally published this big, long document of Cisco Standard Agile, which is an oxymoron, okay? It is a complete misunderstanding of Agile. And so the idea is that we're supposed to be able to come up with our own idea of our own processes and then own continuously evolving them. So that's a really different view of the world, okay? The empowered teams that own processes compared to the handoffs and the methodologies and all that. If you want to see me wince a little bit, just say Scrum methodology, okay? I'm going to kind of twitch a little bit because Scrum is not a methodology, okay? Scrum is a lightweight framework that's designed to help you come up with your own processes. That's kind of a weird idea, right? An empirical process. It's very likely that something could show up on the test about the so-called 3 legs of empiricism, which are transparency, inspection, and adaptation.